Welcome to the CEN show, a platform where we learn from the world community. I'm your host, Rashaki Maskani, and on the panel this evening, we got Ernest McBride Jr., Brother Ahi, and Brother Mshinda. And let me tell you how I met our guest this evening. I was meeting a buddy at Starbucks on Rosecrans and Central. and my buddy, he's a basketball fanatic coach and he wants to win every darn game, which I ain't mad at him. So we have a 50 and over basketball league, and I was meeting him, and we were discussing some things about a business he want to start. And then come this brother. He walked in, we saw him, we spoke, we got to talking, and then we found out that we knew people in common. Mm-hmm. So he was in my age category. So he gave us his information, and I had reached out to him to ask him did he want to be a guest on the show, and he said he would. And so that was a good thing.
Yes.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna introduce you to the brother and let him tell you about himself, and then I have information on him that I'm gonna be sharing throughout the program. So it's Brother Terrance McMillan is our guest this evening, and I'm let him tell you about himself, and then let him present the topic for this evening. Welcome, Brother Terrance. Thanks for coming, and you can go ahead and get started.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that introduction. And yeah, when I ran into you at Starbucks that particular day, I was in there. There's a house I'm selling, still trying to sell this house on 136th Street in Compton. And I see you and the brother talking, and I recognize your face because I watched a lot of sports and high school basketball and football and baseball growing up in Compton. And I remembered your name from playing at Compton High. And what year did you come out, 82 or 83? Did you come out? 83. Yeah. So when you said Moore, I said, okay, I remember you. I remember you played at Washington State and I think Cal State Long Beach.
Yes.
Yeah, so we just got to chopping it up, and being a real tour, you meet a lot of people and you hand out your business card, and you just never know what may happen in the future if that person who you run into or the people you run into know someone who's looking to buy or sell real estate. So that's kind of how you market your business out there in the community. But anyway, just want to share a few things about the real estate in terms of from an investment standpoint, and how to build wealth in real estate. And that's something we need to look at. They said something like 95% of all millionaires have real estate in their portfolio. And that's the most sufficient and I would say basic way to create generational wealth from an investor standpoint. And one of the things we have to look at, especially in our community, we look at our parents where, like, my mom and dad moved to Compton in like 1955, and I think they paid $10,000 for their home. Their home now is worth about $700,000. And it's been a long time. They purchased their home in 1955, and it's 2025, but we still own that home. And imagine if they were in a position to buy two or three, maybe 4 or 5, maybe 5 homes in that community. And that's how you leave something for your kids in terms of generational wealth. And I'm a real estate investor, been a real estate investor since 1990. My father-in-law kind of showed my wife and I the ropes in how to invest in real estate. And I didn't really understand it at that time. He owned several rental properties out here in the Inland Empire. And my wife used to tell me stories where her and her sister used to have to go over to those units that her dad owned and clean them out and paint and do all those different things in order to get those units ready to rent. And my father-in-law showed my wife and I the same techniques that he had used to purchase real estate. I mean, it's good to have I tell people, you have a job. Your job is a way to, allow you to pay your bills and purchase a home and do things like that. But when you invest in real estate, that's how you make money when you sleep. They say that you make money while you sleep, and it's called appreciation. So if you buy a home and over the course of many years, the home appreciates in value, you have equity, and you can use that equity to purchase another property or properties, or send your kids to college, or live off of the passive income that you may have when you purchase your rental properties, especially when you at retirement age like I am. And that's what we did back in 1990. My father-in-law showed us, we purchased our first home in the city of Colton in 1990. I think we paid I want to say $99,000 for that home. And we lived in that home for 2 years. We moved out of that home and we purchased another home in North Rialto. But the home that we originally purchased in Colton, we rented it out for 10 years. And after renting it out for 10 years, that home that we paid $99,000 had appreciated to where we sold it for $200,000. And we took the proceeds from that sale and did what they call a 1031 exchange. A 1031 exchange is a way investors get around not paying capital gains when they sell their property. And you have to, it's almost like you have to, you sell your property and you make a certain amount of money, and you have to reinvest into another property or properties that exceeds the price of the home that you sold. And you have 45 days to identify the property or properties and 6 months to close the transaction. And when you do that, you don't have to pay capital gains on that sale. And so what we did, we purchased, we sold our home in Colton after renting it out for 10 years, and we did a 1031 exchange, and we used the proceeds to purchase a 4-plex and 3 duplexes in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You say, Baton Rouge, how did you end up purchasing a properties in Baton Rouge, Louisiana? Well, we had went to visit my brother in Slidell, Louisiana, and my niece was living in Baton Rouge. So we went to go visit her. And in talking to her, we were talking about the prices of real estate in that particular area. And I asked my niece, I said, Tanya, how much would something like this cost? It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath duplex. She said, out here, this property would go for about $50,000. I said, what? $50,000? I said, wow, this same property in California would probably go for like $250,000. So when I got back home, I went on realtors.com and I started researching property in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And when you're doing your research and you're doing your marketing and what's fine, you want to find out what's coming in that market where you're looking at? Is there a Walmart there? Or is there FedEx? Are there businesses coming in that community? You look at all those different things. Is it close to a college campus? Is Toyota opening up a plant out there? You know, you look at all those factors. And when we looked at Baton Rouge, we knew that that was a strong job market. And we noticed there was certain number of businesses that were opening in that area. So we decided to do a 1031 exchange and purchase property out of state in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Just hired a property manager. Property manager manages the property, take 10% of the gross rents each month, and we get the rest. And we've been owning those properties for like 20 years now. And we paid off one of them, have a gang of equity in other 2 properties. So my son, my wife and I are no longer here, my son is going to step into that. He's 34 years old, and he's going to own those properties. He's going to get a good start in terms of his retirement. He probably won't even have to work anymore once we're gone, because we created a generational wealth. And that's how you do it. And it's not a quick fix. It's not something that happens overnight. It's just something that you start and you just watch it grow in time. And you look back, 5 years go by, 10 years go by, and you look and say, wow, my tenants are actually paying my payment. And you know, you have money left over each month that you can live off of, but a certain amount of that money you have to put aside, because you're going to have things that come up. You're going to have vacancies. You're going to have hot water heaters going out. You're going to have air conditioners going out. Tenants not paying rent. So you have to plan for that rainy day. And that's how you do it. And so we purchased in Baton Rouge. We purchased property in Dayton, Ohio, and purchased property in Arizona, Houston, Texas, Lancaster, Texas. And now at this age where we're close, well, I'm pretty much retired. I sell real estate because I want to sell real estate, but I retired after working with the state of California for 28 years. And now I'm living off of the cash flow from those properties that we purchased 15, 20 years ago. And I mean, that's the way to do it. You know, you sacrifice certain things, you know, certain luxuries and things and desires that you may have, things that you may want to do, because you always have to plan for that rainy day. But at the end of the day, it's worth it to create wealth in real estate. You can't pass your job on to your kids, but you can pass property that you own onto your kids. So that's how I got started, and that's what I do. But it's constant. You always have something to do, something to write down, something to remember, because you have so many things going on all the time when you're a real estate investor. And then you almost get you kind of get an addiction to it. You want to find the next deal. You want to find the next opportunity to make money when the numbers make sense. And, you know, you're always on the prowl trying to find something that's out there. And with us, it doesn't necessarily have to be local. It could be out of state. And you just have people manage your properties for us, and you stay on top of your managers and just make sure that they're doing everything that they're supposed to be doing, because they're getting, 10% of the rents, and they're doing the evictions and the turnovers and all of those different things. And a lot of people are afraid. A lot of people are afraid to take that chance. But, that's what life is all about. You have to take a chance. You have to take a risk. You have to take risks. And if you do your research, you do your homework, and you prepare, your risk won't become as troublesome, I would say, because you will have, taken the time and made the efforts to educate yourself to know what you're getting into. And you know your boundaries, you know how far to go, you don't want to make any bad decisions. And if you hang in there with real estate, if you hang in there and don't give up and just hold on as much as you can, in times it'll all pay off. It would all pay off. And I can say from my personal experience that it's been worth it. And I love sharing this information with people. Shared this information with one of my friends who purchased a property in where did he buy? In Rialto, which is not too far from me. And he was afraid to go out of state. And I said, hey man, don't be afraid, take a chance. And he ended up investing in not Dayton, Ohio, but Youngstown, Ohio. And I think he's got like maybe 45 doors out there, duplexes, fourplexes, eightplexes, and he owns a whole street out there. And back then he was picking up those duplexes for like $25,000, $30,000. Now they're worth, 170, 200,000. And so that's what I do. I'm a real estate investor. I'm a real estate agent where I sell real estate. I work with my buyers. I help my buyers purchase property, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it. You have work my own schedule. It can be stressful at times because you're dealing with, people's biggest purchases. One of their biggest purchases is probably going to be their home. And a lot of money involved. And you just want to treat people fair and get people to know you, like you, and trust you. And they'll send business your way. And that's what's been happening for me. I've been fortunate enough to do pretty well in selling real estate. Been doing it full time since 2016, after I retired from the state in 2015, after 28 years of state service. So it's pretty much my story. Especially in the Black community. I mean, we have to hold on to these properties. I go over there like by Lamert Park. They're doing that gentrification, and people, that's one of our last standing communities. And Black folks purchased these properties years ago, and the kids are losing them, fighting over them and things like that. And then other people are coming in and, grabbing those properties and that are worth a lot of money now. And so we have to kind of hold on to what we have, and that's how you build wealth. That's how you build your community. I look at Compton. Growing up in Compton, there was businesses. We had grocery stores, we had barber shops, cleaners, restaurants, doctor offices, dentist offices, and all those different things in the city of Compton. Because you had a community. And as the parents transition, a lot of times the siblings are not taking care of these properties and selling them, and in so many cases they sell them, and in the next a year you ask them what they do with the proceeds from the money that they received, they couldn't tell you what they did with it. So so we got to hold on. We got to hold on and know that real estate is all real estate, in my opinion, is local. Like I say, I look in Cleveland, Ohio, and Dayton, Ohio, Arizona, wherever the numbers are, where the numbers make sense. And I know that there's different industries coming to that particular area. And I can look 5, 10 years down the line and know what the property value is going to be like, because, 10,000 jobs are coming to that particular community. Matter of fact, we purchased a home in Arizona City, and I had talked to a guy who I had given a pass because I used to be a parole agent, so I gave him a pass to go down to Arizona for a week to work at a warehouse. He was doing some electrical work. And I gave him a pass for a week, and he came back. I said, how was it down there? He said, man, Phoenix is really booming. But he said, there's an area out there called Arizona City. It's near Casa Grande, which is between Phoenix and Tucson. And he said, that area is really growing. And I said, really? So I got on the computer and I did my research, and I looked at all the businesses that was coming to that particular area and how the area was growing. So the wife and I caught a flight out there on Southwest Airline and picked up a little house, little 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for $115,000 back in 2008. And that house now is worth about $280,000. And rents are like, when we first started renting out, I think we were getting $600 a month in rent. Now we get like $1,350. And we just took a chance because we didn't want to be in the Phoenix and area because the prices had really gone up there. So Casa Grande is probably 45 minutes east of Phoenix. So we went down in that area and found a little house that we own today. And got a management company that collects the rents, deal with the repairs, deal with the turnover. And we just sit back around the 10th of the month and we get our money deposited into our account. Yeah. So.
Well, it sounds excellent to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like a beautiful thing. And I know other people that does the same thing. Well, at least I know one other person that looks into investing in properties. And it's it keeps you busy, and you're, like you said, it's wealth. You're building wealth, and it can be passed on. So I think that's excellent. And
Yeah,
what?
I didn't mean to cut you off. One of the beauties of it is like you can look at something that's all tore down, man. We've been in places that are like, I wouldn't let my dog stay in there. And cockroaches and rodent, in there. And then you go in there and you clean it up. And in a month later, it's a pretty property that's on the market to be sold. It just feels, it's a good feeling when you look at what it used to look like and what it looks like now when you're about to sell it or rent it out again. And it's a beautiful feeling because you've seen it, from scratch. You always look at the potential. And my father-in-law taught me that. He don't look at the holes in the wall. Don't care. That's nothing. You just get some Fix-All and fix those holes and put some paint over. Don't worry about that. Look at the big picture. Look at what it's going to be worth. Look at what they're selling for around here. And that's what you have to focus on. And he instilled that in us. And that's what we do now when we go out and evaluate the various properties. We look at what it can look like once we do X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
That's good. Now, okay, I'm gonna go. Let me go to the panel, see if they have questions or comments. Hey, Ernest.
Well, the only thing that struck me, just like you said about the house in Compton, your parents about 55, so they probably paid around 11,000 for that house. Because my mom and dad, I've been in Long Beach like for 87 years. I've been living kind of right here in Long Beach. So, and I used to go up to Compton all the time.
Yes.
And like you say, those houses, man, because my dad's in them house, they paid $9,500 for it in the ghetto area of Long Beach. And then he had 4 units built on the back. in 1952, and then he
Wow.
turned it over to my brother and three sisters. There's five of us, so they got tired. We had a property manager looking out for it. They got tired of dealing with us, so we sold it in 2016 for like 700,000, just split
Okay.
money, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
anyway, and then my wife, that's kind of how I found out she had dementia in 2016. Her mother left her with a triplex in Long
Okay.
Beach, a 3-bedroom apartment and a 2-bedroom in a small house. And,
Mm.
and then a lot next door that used to have a house on it, but the house burned down, and her mother had the foresight to buy it from
Right.
the guy and cleared it off. And so anyway, my wife, we had all relatives laying in there, her nieces and stuff, and she got mad at them. And then when my brothers and sisters was getting ready to sell our place, she said, "I'm selling that," and got the realtor. He come in there and she sold it. And I want to try to get it. You should have kept that for longevity for the kid. I said, "Cause you got 4 grandkids and you have 4 units over there, really 5 with the lot." But anyway, I prevented. I talked out of selling the lot because Cambodians bought it, because it's right in the heart of Cambodian town now.
Right.
So it went up. So we sold it to them, the triplexes and the small house, but then the lot. So I'm keeping that lot. And then people keep calling me, "You want to sell that?" They'd offer me the Cambodia 100,000. I said, "No, I'm not selling it. I'm giving it to the grandkids and let them deal with it."
Right.
But
Right.
in hindsight, I look back, that generational wealth, we should have kept that. And then even my brothers and sisters, I said, we should have kept the property our mom and dad, because that was like 5 units over there. And then the front unit, the city deemed it a historical landmark because my dad had NAACP. He was one of the founders, and they had meetings there. And we had Paul Robeson, Harry Belafonte's
Oh,
wife,
yeah.
and all these celebrities used to come there and do fundraisers for the organization. So they deemed it a historical landmark, and it's got the plaque out there and everything.
Yes.
My
Right.
brother, they said, we're going to get rid of 3 sisters. So we went ahead and sold that. But anyway, my wife and I, we did invest in in a house in Cerritos. Her brother
Oh.
passed, and it's right near the Cerritos Center. It's about a block from that center. And that, I think that grammar school was voted the best school in the nation. And now a lot of Asians are moving out there. So anyway, my brother-in-law left it to my daughter. So when we sold our place, she said, "Well, he owed 200 grand on us, so we give her that to pay it off." And so at least we got that. And then the house I'm living in now here in Cherry Cove and Lakewood, I bought this for 34,072, and now it's like around 800-900,000.
Right. Right.
And then the one we bought in Cerritos, it's $1 million now. Went over the
Easy.
million mark.
Easy. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I always look in hindsight at my wife. We should have kept that, but now she doesn't even recall any of this. But I always look at that in the back of my mind. Well, we should have kept that stuff, but at least I said, well, at least we got that lot. And if we ever wanted to try to build on it, but building costs is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
It cost me $500,000-$600,000 to build something on it. So,
but that's the thing. I mean, we in hindsight, we can all say, "God, I wish I had held on to that." But you just never know.
I know.
You just never know. And I've seen
her mother, she must have the foresight, because she was a single woman trying to raise, because her husband died when my wife was about 3 years old. She's 86 now, so when she's about 3, she don't even remember her dad. But her mother had 3 sons older than my wife, and then my wife was the baby. And she raised all them kids, and they went in the Navy, and then they helped kind of sent her money when she was buying stuff and bought that plot, and then she cat a corner. She bought a house over there, and it had a back house on it, so that was 2 houses. And then across from her, she stays on the corner, or across from her was a 4-unit apartment building. She was in that. And then down the block on the other side of the alley, because her place is now between like Olive and Lime Street, you know, on 11th. And one water, she had the whole block, because all the way down to the other block, her son had owned that. He bought that, you know, and then he ended up getting married, and then he sold it. He didn't want to keep it. It was 4 units, 2-story, you know, 2 up, 2 down. So I don't tell my wife, but I say, hey, I got, because I used to do all my own work. When I bought this place, I built this den on the back of it, you know.
Okay, yeah.
We couldn't afford no 3 bedrooms and a den. And then the realtor told me, son, you look like you can use tools. I said, yeah, my dad taught me how to use hammers and saws and lathes and all that. So you buy this place and build you a lot, build you a den. And I did. I built a 20 by 20 den on this. He said, and then right after I finished, it took me about 6 months to build it. He said, Ernie, so you paid $34,000 for that? You could get about 45 now. Well, I said, yeah, and where am I gonna live?
Right.
I'm gonna stay here till I kill over, man.
Yeah.
So like you say, that's really something, because I kind of had that experience, bring back all those memories. I know the middle of the night, them relatives call with the sink stopped up, or this is wrong and that, and then we just got kind of frustrated with it, you know.
It's all the time. That's all. I have property managers, but still.
Yeah, that's what we should have done. And
but you know what? If you don't,
but see, they had our number because they were kinfolk. You know?
Yeah, but you know what? Even when you have a property manager, sometimes you have to still be involved, because they will spend your money like it's nothing. You know, anything the tenants ask for, they'll take care of it. So I end up having my property managers send me a text sometime. That way I know what we're looking at, what we have to get repaired, whatnot.
Yeah.
And then
my dad did that. He had a fund, and when he passed away, he was like 97, you know, and the last 6 months he had dementia because he didn't recognize me.
Right.
You know, so that, and then we took it over, and then they had a property manager and a fund, and we could see, man, he was ripping you off, the people that was doing the fund, you know. So Dad, he didn't really care, because money, you know, didn't really mean that much to him. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks, Ernest. Let me go to Lynda. Lynda, can you unmute?
Yes, I'm here. I'm just listening tonight.
Listen.
I am here.
Okay. No question?
Not at this time.
Okay, Lynda. Good.
Because I'm learning about real estate. This is what I need to learn about.
Okay. All right. Brother Ahi?
Yes, brother, that's some really good information. And it seems like this is like a profession where you could really use some time, like it'd be geared toward, really would be for some young people, some younger folk, like their 30s, or maybe some of the young professionals just starting their careers as a supplement, sort of like you.
Yes.
I know you counsel people. You said you like to help folk. Do you find any of the young people are taking this on? Are you counseling any? Do you see any interest from the younger people?
I have to. Yes, I mean, like my son, he's 34. He does taxes for a living, lives in Pasadena. And a lot of his friends inquire about investing in real estate But California, the market is so high, the numbers just don't make sense. I mean, if you're going to buy a fourplex here in California, even out here in the Inland Empire, you're looking at about 800,000, and then you got to come up with 25% of that. And if you got a young person who not even a homeowner yet, how they're going to come up with the money to, how they're going to come up with 200 and something thousand dollars or 175,000 to put down on a 4-unit. So the numbers don't make sense. So what I try to do, like in the case of our son, he ended up purchasing a little 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 1-bath house in Dayton, Ohio. Lady's been living there about 10 years. She's a good tenant. She pays her rent. My property manager in Dayton, Ohio, a guy by the name of Andy Wirtz, it was one of his listings, and my son saved up his money. I think he put down 20%, 25%, put down about $10,000, and he's been owning this property for about 5 years. And he gets enough to, cover the mortgage, put aside a little bit for a rainy day, and enough money to put into his account, that he can kind of live off of, supplement his income. So he's always now, he's got that fire under his foot now. Now he's looking to purchase another property. He wants to get into flipping properties. That we're doing that now. We just got our LLC about 2 weeks ago, and we're going to start trying to flip properties. My wife, my son, and I. So we're all part of this LLC, and that's what kind of got him going. But it's just hard here. Like I say, in California, the numbers are just don't make any sense. But if you don't limit yourself to California, and you look at other markets like Cleveland, Ohio, Toledo, Ohio, there's parts of Louisiana where you can pick up a property pretty cheap, and you just turn it over to a property manager. We bought a property in 2008 in Houston, Texas. Brand new, sight unseen, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath for $110,000. And the builder paid 3% of the closing costs. So we came out of our pocket with $2,100. And we bought a brand new home in Houston, Texas. And we rented that home out from around 2008 to just before COVID. We sold it. And we took the hit on the capital gains. We didn't reinvest the money right away, because you have to do it within 6 months and have another property to reinvest the money into. So we just took the hit, 25% of what we made off the property. We had to set it aside for taxes. But we used some of the remaining money to purchase a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath home in Dayton, Ohio for $21,000 cash. And we get $800 a month in rent.
I just want to ask you about the local market in California. Do you think the market will correct itself? Do you think it's going to take government intervention? And what about Black ownership of homes? Are they primarily renters now in Southern Cal, or is there a steady? Are there any interests of people increasing the Black ownership, or is it a steady decline? What is it? I can't hear you. I don't hear you. Okay, I hear you now.
It's at a decline. I don't see a lot of young Black couples purchasing, especially in like the LA markets, because the prices are so high. But they have programs out here, first-time home buyer programs, and I've sold homes to young Black couples over my 10 years in terms of selling real estate. But a lot of times when you deal with some of these young folks today, I mean, you can have a home that may not be in the best neighborhood, or maybe a condo, and it may involve a little commuting, they just don't make that sacrifice like we would have made for a year or two just to get your foot in the door. And you can turn around after being in a home for a year or two, and then you just, purchase another home and rent that home out. But a lot of times with this younger generation, they act as though the first home that they buy is supposed to be a home that they're going to live in for 30 years. But it's not necessarily that way. That's just a stepping stone to get to the next property. So that's one thing we have to start pushing. We have to push home ownership. We have to let them know that there's things you may have to sacrifice for a short period of time in order to just get locked into a home. And once you get in that home, then you can start building wealth. You get to a point to where you may have $200,000-$300,000 worth of equity in a home after being in there for 10 years. You do it HELOC, get a line of credit and go purchase 2 other properties. And then when you're 50, 60 years old, now you have 3 or 4 properties that are paid off. And you may be getting $2,100, $2,200 a month in rent. Now that's $8,000 a month in income.
You said something very important.
Yeah.
That I harp on pretty much all the time now when I'm talking to younger folks. Sacrifice. If they get that virtue, that will, you can accomplish things when you're able to sacrifice and put up things that most of the times people are doing things that they don't need to be doing anyway. So if you can sacrifice some of these vices, I'm telling you, anything I've ever gotten is because I sacrificed some things that I didn't, that I was doing that I didn't need to be doing. So that was very important point you just made. Sacrificing.
Right.
We really have to start instilling that into younger people.
Right.
I just wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, they become prisoners of the immediate, as Dr. Melina Karenga talks about all the time. They become prisoners of the immediate, and they want it all now and don't realize that you have to sacrifice certain things. I mean, I remember working at when I first started working at the state. I mean, my cousin told me, because he had a big old home, he was the LAPD officer, he had a big old home out in Walnut. And he said, hey, live at home for a year and just save all your money. And then once you get to have maybe like $10,000 in the bank, go purchase a home. And I said, really, how does that happen? How much do you have to put down? He said, not that much, maybe like 6,000 or 7,000. I said, wow. So that's what I did. I ended up living with my friend we worked at the same facility, and I just saved my money for a whole year. But there were guys who I worked with, they got that state job and boom, they got the car, the rims, and they got all the top-notch furniture, clothes, and all of that stuff. And it took them 10 years to get their first home. I got my first home 2 years after I started working with the state. I was 24 years old. And that home that we purchased back in 1990, that we sold in 2002 to buy the properties in Louisiana. Now those properties in Louisiana is passive income now that I'm retired. One of the duplexes is paid off.
Wow.
So you work for state parole?
Yes.
You probably know one of my buddies.
Who?
I can't say his name because he don't like his name being out there.
Okay.
But he used to come on the podcast all the time. We'll talk right after.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know a Stanley Howell?
I don't know Stanley Howell.
Okay.
He
was a parole officer.
Where at?
In LA.
Okay. He was in Region 3. I was out here in Region 4 in the Inland Empire.
Okay.
Yeah. 20 years.
You might know my buddy, but we'll talk about that later. Okay. So let's go to Brother Mshinda. Brother Mshinda.
Yeah. Good evening. Hey, Mr. McMillan, thank you for coming on tonight. This is a powerful podcast that's going on tonight. I
Yeah.
try to preach. I work in education. I
Yes.
got a previous experience in similar work that you've been involved in at the county level.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I try to, the people I encounter on a regular basis, we call them students, and
Yes.
various ages. Now, of course, we hit up the youngsters. That's 18, 19, 20 years old, and I always, I do my own personal financial literacy 5-minute seminars with them, as much as I can. We talk about credit ratings and things like that because, they come in, and like I said, I'm working at post-secondary, community college level, and
Hmm.
they come in and they get these student loans, and
Right.
and
Right.
their eyes. My mother used to say, like, when you eat, your eyes are bigger than your stomach. When you eat,
Hmm.
you stuff yourself, but they see this money, and they go wow, because they're not used to having money,
Right.
and they don't know check to check or no check at all, in type of income, no income. And so therefore, it's just amazing that how it's so easily to get student loans. And so I talk about the income to debt ratio and how, that's going to impact you down the road. And I try to give them some scenarios where, hey, if you can kind of, hold off, and then, get your profession, get your skill set, become a nurse, become a welder, become a diesel mechanic, an air conditioned refrigeration technician. I said, you start investing your money and acquiring assets and things like that. So that's why I appreciate what you're talking about.
Right.
I'm constantly doing it myself. It was probably back in, I don't know, like I said, I'm not too far out of your generation, maybe
Yes.
older than you, but at the end of the day, I feel like I'm just getting started. I don't care, I don't look at the age, as long as,
Right. Right.
if I'm in your age bracket right now, hey, I think I might live to 100. So, I got to live to 100.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
what I'm going to do is still, I'm going to be in the game. This is not
Right.
for some young, it's not necessarily for the young person. It's for the person that their cup is half full, not half empty. And so you can actually, better your position by making a few moves. But what I did was, I don't know, years ago, living in the, between San Diego and growing up in the Compton area, and born and raised, and then, living in San Diego and back to LA, things like that. One summer, I went to a Century 21 class, not to become a salesperson, but to, a friend of mine was trying to be a mortgage banker, and he was
Okay.
trying to learn real estate. So I went through. I went through it for free because somebody I knew had went through it, and I grabbed the little brown book that Century 21 had, and
Right.
I don't know, I was inspired to learn the jargon and some of the things about real estate, and it really helped me understand things. Now you were talking about, Louisiana. I'm in Louisiana. You mentioned Slidell. I'm probably, within 20 minutes from Slidell. So I know Slidell well. I know the market of Baton Rouge well, and I've so Rashaki was saying, I don't expose myself too much for my own personal reasons, like, but where I'm at and all that, but it's not a military secret. But at the end of the day, I'm saying, being within certain areas where you're talking about, I was able to, but so went through the Century 21 training. And then, so I'm saying all this to say that you got to be intentional. You gotta educate yourself. Don't wait for it. So I went after the education. Like I was talking to a young man today. When I was 18, I wasn't proactive like that. I wasn't intentional like that. I was, we grow up in a society K through 12, especially the public school system. We wait on the teacher to come in and tell us what to do. Like today, boys and girls, this is what I want you to do. So we're waiting instead of being, so the point is, I'm trying to say that, hey, there's nothing wrong with engaging with your instructor, but you should, kind of go outside of the box and learn for yourself. So say, for instance, if you're learning to be an electrician and you're learning electrical fundamentals, well, you go into the classroom and there's a textbook and so forth. You don't, you can wait for his lecture and all that, But I would say, hey, take that same information, go on YouTube, look at other instructors that are talking about electrical fundamentals, electrons or whatever. I said, and so be proactive in your learning. So that's what I was doing in terms of real estate. So anyway, there was a local person that was an appraiser. She was the only appraiser in a little town that I owned property in. And so she taught a class in real estate and she gave us a few nuggets. And so I listened to her, and it was like a semester class. After I got off work, the class started in the evening. It met like twice a week. And, in Louisiana, they have the Napoleonic laws because, the French used to own Louisiana, and they have a lot of French laws on the books. So anyway, I was, I wanted to learn. And so therefore, she told me about buying like tax property. And so I went, so like they have sheriff sales, people that do not pay their
Right.
taxes. Hey, the local government takes over the property. And so what I did was I acquired a property, through her tutelage. And I got passive income coming from that property right now. You talk, it wasn't roach infested, but I'll
Good.
tell you what, it was looking like a raggedy can of sauerkraut, as my dad used to say, the property. And so I got some guys, and I felt like a little general contractor. I had the plumber and this and that. We gutted the house, and but again, all I did was pay the taxes on that property for 5 years, actually six, because I didn't know the total rules of, to the game. So I had to wait an extra year. Out here, it's like 5 years. You sit on it and pay the taxes. I got it put it. I got a lawyer, paid him about I think it was, I don't know, like 2,500, and we went to court and put it in my name. Might have been a little less than that. Might have been 2 grand. Went to court, put it in my name, and so that house is free and clear, and I am
Nice.
getting income from that every month. And so after, of course, I did invest. So I think right now, I maybe in about 2 years ago, I got my break even. I got to my break even point, and so after so I sat on it. I had 5 years. Then for about maybe two and a half years after that, I got my money back because from renting it out. So now everything I get is just straight income. They're paying their own bills. They pay their water bill, electric bill, gas, whatever they have to do. And even the grass. I said, hey, you cut the front grass. And I do have a shed in the back of one of those properties. So I said, I'll take care of the backyard. But if you don't want to cut it, I'll get somebody to do it. But I'm just saying, this is kind of, I won't call it free money, but it's free money. I'm getting money every month from that tax property. Then another property, kind of like what you were talking about, doing a little research. It's kind of, I won't say addicting, but it's fun. It's like if you play sports, it's like a sport to me. And so it's like, okay, where's the next one at? Bought one for like 34,000. It was a HUD house. Guess what? That same HUD house for 34,000.
Yeah.
It's if you, I haven't gotten it appraised, but I know what the comps are in the area. It's going for like 189. You know what I'm saying? All day long. Yeah, yeah. So then next door there was another property that just they were out there trimming the bushes. I said, hey, you guys getting ready to sell the property? They said, you want to buy it? I said, yeah. They said, well, we won't take nothing less than 125. Do you know I got that property for 65? And do you know now that property is probably worth every bit of like 2.25 on the low end. So I'm just saying that but having that credit score, I'm telling them about the loans. I'm all over the place, but I'm trying to tell these younger people that get your position together, get your credit score together, and all that. When you go to these banks and things like that, don't be a conspicuous consumer and so forth. So, but again, what I'm doing is at where I'm at. Like I said, I think I'm past you. I'm a little past you. I'm looking at you on the screen. I'm kind of hidden, but I'm still looking for property, and I'm not totally aggressive because I do have a full-time job, but it's fun to me, and I think that, hey, if you have the health and you have the ability to do it, hey, you can do it, and you can still make some passive income and position yourself better. But I'm enjoying it, so and I tell people I'm just getting started. I'm just getting started. I'm not. I feel like I've acquired a few things, but and a little equity base. Now, again, I know I'm moving fast, but
No,
because
we
I'm
got
gonna stop. I'm gonna stop in a second. Property in Compton. Parents, bought a house for 13.5.
okay.
Realtor.com got it listed at 606.
Wow.
606,000. So I'm like, wow, and we still sitting on it. That kind of thing.
Right,
So
right, right.
so what I'm saying is, I hear you, I feel you, and you're dead on it. And I'm done right now.
But you know what? One thing you mentioned about credit, and that's another thing I didn't mention it earlier, but if I had an opportunity to talk to young people, I would tell them about their credit. Take care of your credit, and you'll be surprised how much of a difference it made. Not only will you be able to purchase, but the better your credit is, your credit score, the better interest rate you can get, which means that you may end up paying less in terms of payment because you have a better interest rate. If your interest rate, if your credit is screwed up, then you pay a higher interest rate. You just don't know. When I'm listing my properties and list my properties for rent in Louisiana, because I work with my property manager, and I list them on Zillow, and they call me, and then I let him know, send them an email, hey, call these individuals right here. They want to go look at it, and then he goes and show it to them. But they send the application to me, and I run their credit and their background and everything here from California. And you just be surprised, man. It's like their credit score is like 505 and 510, and 496. And it's like, come on, get your credit right. Because once you do that, it'll put yourself in a position to where you can purchase a home. You want to refinance your home. You want to make sure you have good credit. I bought a house in Ohio. We paid $21,000 cash. I had put some money aside from a sale in Houston when I sold the property in Houston, and I didn't want to use that money right away. So I seen a house in Dayton, Ohio on my property manager's website because one of my properties was listed, and I wanted to look at the pictures and see what he had, what he put in there as far as the description of the property. And I seen a little house that was on the market for $28,000. And I contacted our property manager, and I asked him about it. And then I noticed like it went down to $24,000. And my manager said it's an out-of-state investor. He wants to get rid of the property. And I said, what do you think he'll take? He said, I don't know. I said, let's write up an offer for $22,000. So we wrote an offer up for $22,000, and had a home inspection done, and the repairs came up approximately maybe like $1,200. And so the seller said, just give them a credit of $1,200. So we got the house for like $21,000. And I say that because I called my credit union and told them about it. And because I have good credit, they didn't even ask for no application or anything. He looked at my credit score, and they put $25,000 in my account the same day with an interest rate of like 9%. And I was like, I'm cool with that because I'm just going to use this 25 grand to purchase this property. And so they put the 25, I called them like at 11 o'clock, by 5 o'clock, 25 grand was in our account. And I used 21,000 of that to purchase this home in Dayton, Ohio that I've never seen, but it was a Section 8 tenant in there. And I knew by her being on Section 8, it couldn't be in that bad of a condition because Section 8 comes out once a year and do inspections. So I end up paying that house off like 3 months later from the money from the sale of the house that I sold in Houston. And so that house is free and clear, paid $21,000. We get $800 in rent each month. And
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
In Dayton, Ohio, are you working with another investor, Reginald Davison?
No. But when we started investing in Dayton, like in 2005, they had duplexes going for like $16,000. Fourplexes were going for like, my brother brought a 6-unit for 80,000 out there. Properties were real cheap. Yep.
Go ahead, brother Mshinda.
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, they got a up there in Richland Parish. I don't know if you read, they have their the company Meta that owns
Mm.
Facebook. They're building the
Okay.
biggest. They have several. They have a few data centers. They're big and they're building their biggest data center in Richland Parish. The cities are, I think, like Delhi and uh, I forget Mangum, and it's a couple of cities in that parish. You know, we have parishes, not counties.
Right.
But anyway, something you might want to check out is Richland Parish. Meta is about to break ground. I don't know where it's at, but they're spending billions in data centers with artificial intelligence, and they've chose Richland Parish. That's up there, going toward North Louisiana. It's past Central Louisiana, going toward Shreveport, in
Oh,
little
okay.
towns like Delhi and things like that. Something you might want to research, or your son or somebody, because you do a lot of, you're doing out of state.
Yes.
That's something I'm kind of researching myself. But again, I'm working every day. I'm not retired yet, so but I'm just passing that on as well. That because that area is traditionally, I think that it's lower income or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but it's going to be construction jobs and more, and permanent jobs and things like
Right.
that. So just throwing that out there. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny when we were in Louisiana, I ran into a guy named Steve Caruso. And Steve, um, I was talking with his handyman because our place had flooded. So I was out there. I was talking to his handyman named Lionel. And Lionel was with Steve, going through his properties. His properties had flooded too. So I think Steve had about 45 properties in that area where ours flooded. And I asked Steve, how did you get started? And he said he went to his credit union and he got $1 million line of credit. And with that $1 million, he started purchasing property. And when I talked to Steve about 2 months ago, he said he's got 350 properties now. He started with that $1 million line of credit. He just started buying everything out there in Central and Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's that I-12 corridor. If you understand Interstate 12 going to
Yes,
10, all the way
right.
into Baton Rouge, you got the LSU, Southern University.
Yes,
It's not going anywhere. That, as a matter of
right.
fact, it's like a little Los Angeles, really, because they're not making any more land over there. So if you're able to buy something over there or get in there, I think it is good buys. But again, like I say, I'm not moving as fast as you. You've been in the game much longer than I have, but
No, but you
yeah.
you doing some things. Matter of fact,
But
one of my tenants is a our units is not in the best neighborhood, but we've been owning them since 2004. And one of my tenants been there 12 years. The other one, he just moved in a year ago. Section 8, lives by himself, takes care of the place. The other been there 20 years, and I have a student, she's working on her PhD. She goes to LSU, and she lives in one of my units because it's not too far from the LSU campus. But it was kind of like the hood, but our street, there's no homes across the street. So that makes it much better. And people didn't want to live in that area, but that area has really changed and it's really got better. They put a police substation over there and they got a big soccer field. And I remember I was talking to a brother when I was out there about 12 years ago. He had picked up a duplex around the corner for 20,000. And those duplexes now are going for about 250.
yep, it's there.
Yeah. Man, that's excellent, man. Good information.
Yes.
People need to get in the game.
Yeah.
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 So I guess we can end it there. And you want to come back on, Terrance, another time and update us or give us some more information, we'll be glad to have you.
And
Well, I
yeah,
would-
ask him if he comes back. I want him to, if he'll talk about what does he think about moving out of the country.
Ooh,
Have you ever thought about that, buying property in another country?
you're on mute, Terrance.
Never thought about moving out of the country until January 20th, 2025.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So
We
you know
don't
what I'm
have to
talking
say-
about.
And we don't have to ask why.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay.
That's why my daughter trying to get me to move to Grenoble, France. With her, I said, no, I'm stuck. I'm gonna keel over right here.
Oh, and then I wanted to ask him also if he comes back, what about buying farmland? I mean, you mentioned Ohio and all kind of other places, but what about buying farmland?
That would be a good idea. I have a cousin in Alabama. He's got a farm. I mean, he grows all of his food on his farm, and that's something we have to look at as a as a people. We got to look at maybe growing our own food and have our own land.
Okay,
Stuff that like Malcolm and people like that talked about. You got to have your own.
absolutely, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I would love to come back on. I love talking about this real estate stuff.
Well, we
Hey,
definitely
hey,
have
Terrance,
you.
hey, let me ask Terrance something. What's as far as Zillow and Realtor.com, Redfin, in terms of their comps or how they, their appraisals,
They're
how
pretty,
accurate do you think they are?
they're pretty accurate. I look at them sometime, even when I'm about to list the home. I got a listing over here in San Bernardino, a condo. I got it listed for 330, and Zillow's got it listed at 329.9, and Redfin got it at 331,000. So they're right around what the properties will appraise for, the comps in that area, rather.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, man, I appreciate this great information, and we definitely want to be in contact and have you back.
I would even take you through the whole process of how, when you want to, what you need to do in order to start investing in real estate. Just take you through the whole process from purchasing to taking money off one property and parlaying that into another property, and then parlaying money taking money off of that property and buying another one, and then you look up in 5-10 years you own 5 properties. So I can just talk to you specifically about something like that, how to go through that process. It's kind of general today, but I can kind of narrow it down next time.
Well, that sounds good. We
Yes.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
Yep.
Yes.
Let's
I'm
do it.
inspired. You and especially Brother Mshinda. Okay, I'm an old man. Maybe I can still do it too.
Come on, Ahi, let's buy some property, Ahi.
Yeah.
Let's go have.
Okay.
We
I
can take over.
have a friend, co-worker, her mom was 93 years old at that time. I think she's about 100 now, but her mom was still saying that she's still trying to pick up a couple of pieces of property. She's 93.
Hey,
It just gets in your blood, man. You just
it's
want to.
motivation,
It's
inspiration.
motivation. Yeah.
It's a sport.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, you know what? I needed to tell us about the guests we have for next week, and I didn't prepare that. So let me do that real quick. You could say a few more words there, Terrance, if you like, while I pull up this information.
Okay. Two, and you want to make sure, like on our properties, we have an umbrella policy. You guys know what an umbrella insurance policy is?
Go
Have
ahead
you
and
ever?
explain.
Umbrella policy is, let's just say you have homeowners insurance and you have your general liability up to like 300,000, right? So if you get an umbrella policy, it will cover, and what they encourage you to do is increase your general liability from 300 to 500,000. So that's the first thing they want. But then you can get an umbrella policy of insurance, which can be $1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million. So we usually get around 2 million. And what happens if you get sued, then a lot of times you can get sued. If you get sued for an amount higher than your liability, let's just say that's 300,000, then they can come after you for your personal stuff, your personal assets and stuff like that. After that 300,000, if you get sued and they render the decision in the people who suing you favor, and it's over that 300,000, then they can come after you personally for your assets. But if you have an umbrella policy, they tell you to increase your liability, say from 300 to 500, and sometimes that's only maybe like $80, $90. And the umbrella policy will kick in after that $500,000 liability. So you almost protecting yourself of up to like $2.5 million if somebody tried to sue you. And a lot of people don't really know about that. So we make sure we have an umbrella policy. So if we're sued for an amount that's over 500,000, then an umbrella policy will kick in and protect me, my wife.
What about if you're under like a LLC? You know, like if you put your properties under LLC.
I heard that's the goal right there, is to put them in an LLC separate from your personal. But sometimes with and I'm gonna look more into it, but I know sometimes with an LLC, if you have a mortgage or something like that, it's hard to get the mortgage converted over to the LLC. But that's something I have to look more into. But in the meantime, I just have an umbrella policy. Because I'm gonna tell you what happened. We had a dog that we owned for like 12 years. Beautiful dog, wouldn't hurt a flea. We went for a walk one morning, and my dog at this time had arthritis, could barely even walk. So we didn't walk him as much. And so one morning we were getting ready to go for a walk. And we said, you know what, we're just gonna take him to the tree in front of the house, up under the shade, go for a walk around the block, and then come back. So we were gone for maybe like 30 minutes. Come back around the corner, coming down the street. I see the chain from the my dog's chain tethered to the tree, and it was like on the sidewalk. I said, damn, what happened to my dog? So when I got up to the front of the house, the neighbor across the street, she was in her driveway. She said, hey, your dog bit me. I said, what? He bit me, and you see a little blood coming down her leg. I said, no, my dog don't even bite. Yes, he did. He bit me. So what happened, the lady next door had two wild dogs, little boxers. When she opened up her front door, her two dogs went and attacked my dog. She started screaming. The lady across the street and her husband came over there and supposedly tried to separate the dogs. And when they supposedly was separating the dogs, my dog allegedly bit her. And I said, no, that doesn't sound right, because my dog would have done nothing like that. And Jehovah's Witnesses who was in the area, they said they didn't see it happen that way. But as I'm talking to her, I could hear the ambulance coming. So I knew where she was going with that. So we took our dog to the vet that day. And then I had to go to Barstow because I own a property in Barstow. And I had to get these tenants to sign a lease agreement. So when I got back from Barstow, I went across the street to check on her. And when I went over there to check on her, she was all laying back on her sofa, her leg all propped up. She said she went to the hospital and her doctor asked her to ask me, do we have insurance? And said, yeah, we have insurance. And so around a month later, we got a certified letter in the mail stating that we were being sued for $500,000 and the neighbors were being sued for $500,000 for the dog bite. So if you have insurance and your insurance will insure you up to $350,000 in terms of personal liability, and they're going to try to sue you for $500,000, you get scared and you'll just settle for probably a lower amount that's not more than that $350,000. So, but we fought it. And when we went down, and we fought it for like 2 years, and then we had to go do depositions and stuff, and we had to go in front of a judge, and she ended up suing us. And we agreed to it at that time because we didn't want to go to a trial. And, you know, they ended up saying, you guys left the dog, you know, you were in violation of some city code for leaving your dog tethered to a tree for more than 15 minutes. And we didn't want to get in front of no jury. So we settled for $20,000 and they sued the neighbors for $50,000. But our insurance paid for it. So, and so when we were being sued, when we were down going to the depositions and meeting for the judge, our attorney said, do you guys have an umbrella policy? Because they was looking at that $500,000 amount that they was trying to sue us for. So we had an umbrella policy for another $2 million. So if it had exceeded the $500,000, we were still covered because we had the umbrella policies. So that's why you have to have your insurance when you have these rental properties or your property. You know, even if you don't have, you know, rental property, you just have to have your insurance and stuff. You know, that's what you pay for, because if you have a dog and, you know, dog bites somebody in California, they, you know, you have to go to court. I think in Louisiana, you get one dog bite. The second one is when they can sue you. But in California, the first one, they can put it on the homeowner.
Yeah, people are always looking to get over.
Yeah.
Opportunists.
Opportunists, yeah.
Yeah.
And when they got that 70,000, man, you should have seen them for. You seen a new car, you seen furniture and big screens and all that stuff being delivered over there. I haven't said nothing to them in like 10 years since that happened. I don't speak to them. I don't say nothing to them. And
Yeah, they got a free ride from you.
They got a free ride. Yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate it too.
Excellent information, great stories.
Yeah.
Really good. Appreciate everybody coming out tonight. The Fab Five. We had a substitute Fab Five. We had Sister Lynda was here, so that was good. So next week we got Professor Ife Jai coming, and her topic is hip hop, mass production of negative messaging. Who's to blame, industry or artists? So that's what we got next week.
Okay, what day would that be?
Next Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah, so you could always go to the website.
Okay.
See what we have going on, and then stay on. So I wanted to ask you something.
Okay.
All right, folks. We're gonna take our pause. Each one teach one in Conscious Corner. Everybody have an excellent evening.
Thank you.